I'm the team leader at Keller Williams Integrity in Ottawa. And Gord, I'm going to punt it to you to give a quick introduction of yourself and where you're from and what brokerage, and then maybe a 60-second snapshot of your business.
Okay. My name is Gord Gary. I've been in the real estate business longer than many of you have been on Earth. On the 6th of June, I'll be in the business 50 years, 50. And much of that was in corporate life in real estate. My wife and I moved to the Niagara Peninsula on November the 15th, 2007, which was the culmination of a 20-year plan. And I was doing some coaching with brokers and salespeople and mortgage brokers and mortgage salespeople. And I found that I was being absolutely handcuffed to my desk. And while I found the work terrific, we had some great results with clients. I hated it. So I decided to go back into active brokerage again. And I joined Keller Williams Complete Niagara Realty, which is based in St. Catharines. I live in Jordan, Ontario, and Jordan is on the Beamsville Bench, if you're familiar with Beamsville Bench wines. And from where I'm sitting right now, there are 17 award-winning wineries and 2 Zygot-rated restaurants. And many of those wineries and restaurants take care of a great deal of my money. So I do a lot of business in new home sales, and we'll talk about that later, obviously.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much, Gord. And James, where are you from? What brokerage?
Hey. James Benson. I'm from Keller Williams Advantage Realty down in, I guess, South Riverdale or Leslieville in Toronto. I've been here pretty much for all of my career. I think I started here and I was at another Keller Williams office for a very brief period of time. And now I'm back at this one. My business in a nutshell, work with, I guess the majority of my deal volume is in the pre-construction industry. Last year, I think we closed over 740 units. And then, yeah, I guess I got into this probably 6 years ago now, and I've been kind of figuring my way through the pre-con game ever since that time. So is there anything I'm missing there, or did we get everything?
No, that's great. I'm already wanting to dig in, but I'll come back to some of that. I'm going to make some notes, etc. And yourself, David?
So I've been a realtor for 10 years, full-time for just over 6. And I came at being a realtor from being an investor first. So built up an investment portfolio and kind of didn't feel like work. So I said, maybe I should be doing that full-time. So when it comes to kind of pre-construction world, getting close to 1,000 units that I've been just participated in the sale of. It is, a lot of the stuff that I've participated in are things that I personally believe are good investments or are set up for investors, things that kind of work with the way I think when it comes to investing in real estate. Based out of Mississauga, do have a residential aspect of my business as well. And, like James, still figuring it out, but each day trying to get a little better,
Perfect. So I'd like to start. My goal here is to kind of figure out how you guys got started and how you got that introduction, how you kind of got your foot into the door with new construction. And then after that, we're going to try to move in around more about value proposition and what you're offering, et cetera, to kind of keep your foot in those relationships, et cetera. And then advantages, challenges with new construction, and then just kind of advice that you would give to get someone in there. So to start, why don't we start with you again? And how did you kind of start working with new construction? How did you get your foot in the door? How did you get introduced to it?
Okay. Back in the early days of my career, I was with an Ontario independent brokerage, and they had a relationship with a builder. And so I was introduced to new home construction in that process. And then with a partner, we opened up a real estate company like across the street, and the builder followed us. And in that process, we had the opportunity to become a co-developer with that builder. And we did, the first development was an 89 lot single family residential development in Brockville, Ontario. And if you don't know where Brockville is, it's just east of heaven, if you appreciate that the 1,000 miles is heaven. And then we did a 28 unit townhome. Then we did a 36 unit townhome. And then I kind of sort of left the active brokerage business at that point, and went to work for one of the franchisors as a training and management consultant. And so we did well with those developments on a co-development. We also represented a couple of other builders at the same time. And one might think that could bring a certain amount of angst, but it really was a very harmonious relationship, and things moved on from there. And so then when I came back into the business on an active basis in 2012, the builder that I'm working with now was looking for someone to market their homes. And so I met with them. The fact that I knew a little bit about the development process and home construction was a big boon. And so we signed on with them, and sold out a 30 unit vacant land condominium development in Jordan very quickly. And then it just progressed from there. And we just finished a 93 unit VLC in Grimsby. These were all townhomes, and a 21 unit VLC in Jordan. And I have another one coming to market in October. And the vast majority of our buyers in these developments are end user buyers. There's some investors, but not many. Most of them are end user buyers.
Okay, perfect. And what about you, James? How did you get started in new construction, pre-construction world? And
believe it or not, it was somewhat by accident. I had a colleague in the business who had known me and had started to do some in-house sales for developer, and had said, James, do you want an allocation? And I said, yeah, sure, why not? I'd give it a try. And it really took off. It was a great project. It was a good investment, and things just really launched from there. And I guess having gone through it once, it really just gave me the confidence to start talking to other developers, because we moved a fair amount of units. I think that summer when I first got into it, ended up moving over 160 units. And that kind of gave me the swagger or the clout, I thought, to be able to go in and talk with other developers and start having those conversations, especially doing so many units in such a short period of time. And then just things kind of snowballed from there. So the more we started to talk about, what had happened, what the accomplishments had been, more and more developers would start to listen and have conversations with you. And some of the people I met, I guess similar to what Irene was saying on the last call, is you met them 5 years ago, and you just kept in contact, you kept adding value every chance you could, and then over time, you get invited in. And for a long period of time, up until about probably 3 years ago, I was dealing with allocations on buildings. And then I guess 3 years ago, but about 3 years ago, I think, the magical call came where it was, I want you to list this building. So it was really neat to go from someone that was getting allocations in the building to, hey, here's a 300 unit condo tower. What do you think? How do we sell it?
Right.
So that's how I got into it.
Can I just take a quick step back for people?
Yeah,
you want to
absolutely.
Just in case people don't know what an allocation is.
Yeah, for sure. So typically, when you go to a big development, let's say there's 300 units or 500 units, the developer will contact 10 agents, 50 agents, 100 agents, I don't know, but gives them each, a handful of units. They'll say, look, we'll give you 10 of these 500 units, and you can sell these to your entire database. So you start again with these 10 units or 15 units, and your goal is always to sell them out as quickly as you can, put up your hand and ask for more. Right, because that's what developers want to see. They want to see people that can move their product. Ideally, they have a problem. Their problem is, I have all these units that are unsold, and you need to help them get rid of that problem. It's really no different than what we do every day with someone's house. It's just en masse, right? You know, it's different problems, obviously. You know, selling a house, you know, you have to do the paperwork, you have a process to follow. Selling 50 houses in a day, a whole new set of challenges, whole new set of problems, whole new set of paperwork. It's, you know, the game changes slightly, but still very similar.
Cool. And David, how did you get your foot in the door?
So my foot in the door, I think I mentioned I had started as a realtor, kind of specializing with investments, right? Specializing with investors that were looking to emulate what I had done with my own portfolio. And, you know, a lot, I mean, I sold things while I was part-time transitioning to full. And I got to the point where, you know, working with investors is great. I mean, you're selling multiple properties to one person. However, it's very time consuming as a, you know, mainly as an investor, you're focusing on a lot of buys. So you're in the car, you're looking at a lot of properties. I'm dealing with a lot of different strategies from different investors. So what I did was try to find something that I could sell at mass to my existing client base, right? So my guys were investors, and I was able to get access to a project that was investor focused, right? It just happened to be pre-construction. It wasn't like I was specifically looking for pre-construction, but it had the right metrics. I looked at it. I knew there'd be a lot of pressure to sell, but I said, you know what, this is something that, you know, I think is a great investment, and I poured into it. So that was really the foothold. Is, you know, I found that thing that worked for my client base, and then once I sold that very well, then, you know, opened my eyes to pre-construction, but then also opened the doors to being able to work with other pre-construction developments when, you know, you have a track record of success in that space.
So what do you mean when you say you got access to it? And what do you mean when you say you poured into it?
Okay. So, I mean, one of the things, you know, as realtors, we have the system around us, the MLS system, right? And there is absolutely value adds that we can do, but there is a system that can drive a lot of your demand. When you're dealing with pre-construction, there is no system, right? You have to generate that demand. So when I say pour into it, I don't mean, you know, I got allocation of units and I knew that, you know, I basically had 2 weeks. Let's see what you can do. And at the end of 2 weeks, you're either with us or you're not, right? And if you sold, you're with us. So
by getting access, you meant you got an allocation. Correct?
I got an allocation, small allocation that I expanded based off of actually selling. But when you get that allocation, you think that's, you know, hey, great, I got my allocation. But your next question is, now what? Like, it's not like you can go put this on realtor.ca and then wait for other realtors to come and bring you buyers, right? You have to figure out what you're going to do. Like, I remember sitting down and, you know, I said, okay, I'm going to put a $15,000 marketing budget to this, because, you know, if I can sell, you know, one unit, you know, I'm going to earn back, you know, enough to make that work. And, you know, I thought, hey, I got to be able to sell at least one unit, right? But that was, you know, I had to make that happen. Now there's a whole other set of problems. If you're going to market it, what's your advertisement? What's your lead capture system? How are you going to convert them? What's your scripts, right? And this all happens in about that amount of time, like a very small amount. If, you know, the way I came at it was, hey, that's something that's great. I think I can sell it. I'm going to do it, versus, you know, having all the systems in place. It was just jump off the cliff and make your wings on the way down, really.
Perfect. Thank you very much, David. Welcome, Trevor. How are you? Oh, sorry. Go ahead, David.
I was going to say the key is I chose something that worked for what I was specialized in, versus just picking a project. I chose something that I knew I could sell and that my buyers wanted.
Okay, perfect. Trevor, welcome. I'll just get you to take yourself off mute there, just so you know you're on mute.
How are we doing?
Thank you very much. I'm very good, thank you. I'd like to get you to start just by you can hear me well?
Yeah, I can hear you, yeah.
Perfect. I'll just get you to start by introducing yourself, where you're from, the brokerage that you're with, and maybe a 60-second snapshot of your business.
Yeah, my name's Trevor Street. I run the Partners Marketing Group We're based out of Keller Williams Elite Realty in Maple Ridge, BC. For the past 5 or 6 years, we have run pre-construction sales in Vancouver suburbs. We're generally doing, I think about 450 units a year kind of thing. A very narrow niche. It's all wood frame, townhome or condos in the suburbs. I don't touch Vancouver at all. It's, like I said, the suburbs and the rural communities outside of Vancouver.
Cool. Thank you. The next question that everybody was just answering was kind of how they got started working in new construction, how they got their foot in the door in their first introduction to the business.
I dated the right guy's niece, apparently, was my way of getting the foot in the door. So I started dating this gal when I was like 17. I got deployed to the Afghanistan theater when I was about 21, as happens with just about every 21-year-old with a 19-year-old girlfriend when they get deployed for 6 months is, they don't have a girlfriend when they get home. But I kept harassing the uncle. I had him on my mail out list still for years and years. And I was just a regular resale realtor, right? Like knocking on doors and that kind of thing. And one day he was a developer. He called me and asked me about a piece of land right around the corner from my office. And I got back to him right away about it. And that wasn't what he was looking for at all. But I just kind of stayed on him, and I was just always made myself really accessible whenever he called, and just kept bringing him sites, and eventually we found what he wanted. I got the list backs on it, and then the rest is history. But if it wasn't for Glenn Richardson, I don't. It was something I always wanted to do, but I was very fortunate in that when I would bring him a site, he would tell me why he didn't want it. He wouldn't just say, no, that one's not for me. And so that's how I got to learn about how to sell the development sites, like sell the land to developers, not just get the contracts to market, right? So
right,
that's kind of
right.
The long answer to your question.
It was great, actually. I think we've kind of had three very different ways, right? Like Gord got his experience by being a co-conspirator, co-developer of a bunch of projects, which really got you a lot of know-how and knowledge to get your foot into the door to work with the various builders. James and David both got an allocation. James says he did it by accident, but I'm sure that was relationship building in there. And David by really focusing on a particular niche for his investment clients, so he already had a bunch of buyers that fit the framework for what you're selling in order to get a lot of success out of that. And Trevor by dating a niece. Okay, no, I'm kidding. And Trevor,
by dating a niece and being annoying. Yeah.
Well, actually, I think you focused at it very much from helping the developer find the property to develop on.
Yeah.
Right, and then that translated into you being able to sell the properties that were developed afterwards, right? Fair.
Yeah, and that's our continual focus today as well, right? I always want to sell them the land that we're going to be marketing the development on, right? So,
right.
Yeah.
James and David, do you do that as well? Do you help them find the land, or are you more selling the property after the developer has created it?
So I have a portion of my business where I've been selling more long-term land, like farmland.
Right.
That's 20, 30-year land, or say 10-year land that's in development paths. But again, it's more long-term investor-based. Been working with developers that have kind of like a pipeline in place already, though I probably should be listening to Trevor on that and help them with that as well.
Good, very good. So we had a question from Sumit in the chat, and I was wondering if anybody had any advice they'd give on how to get allocations. If you don't have your background or your experience, how would you get yourself an allocation?
I think you date a developer's niece, don't you?
There we go. Okay.
You did developer, yeah. I would say like for us, we constantly have people. I mean, we kind of do allocations, we kind of don't, but we call them VIP realtors, right? And if you want to start getting allocations, on one of our sites, you need to show up. I don't know if you guys back east, you have like a due diligence period when you sell new construction, like a right of rescission, where the buyer can walk away after they write their deal. 10 days.
Yep.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So
How long is yours?
the deals it's 7, but that's too much. It should be 7 minutes. But anyways, firm up the deals that you write and be good to deal with. Okay. And just make a point of being friendly and courteous to the sales staff, and so they remember you and know who you are, and just try to build those relationships that way. That's how people get in with us, right?
Okay.
Yeah, I would echo a lot of those comments. I think being nice with the developer staff, like it's always my goal whenever I'm working with a new developer, is I know that there could be other agents involved. I want to be liked the most. I want to be the most polite on the phone. I want my paperwork delivered to the developers in the sales center on time. I want nothing missing. And when my people show up, we could mail checks, we could do those things. I would send my assistant and I would say, show up, bring them coffee, find out what they want to drink, bring them coffee orders. That's one of the ways when another realtor is losing their allocations, that it's coming to you front and center. So the first thing, be respectful, be nice, be professional, have all that stuff buttoned down. And then, sometimes offering to help out. Like, I know I've worked in projects in the past and realtors have put up their hand and said, hey, like, I know you're getting that listing. Can I come work with you on that project? And they'll literally sit there and work the sales center floor with me on that project, just so that they can get their clients, allocations and get one for themselves. Because usually when you're buying into a project, and this is one of the greatest things about selling pre-construction, is you buy in at the lowest price possible. As prices go up over, let's say, 3 weeks, I'm buying day one pricing. And when I'm done at the end of week 3, I've already made $50,000, $60,000 in equity. So, while it may look free that those realtors are coming to work with us and work in the sales center, if they're going to make $60,000 for 3 weeks worth of work just because they came and helped out, plus all the commission that they made by selling their clients' units, they tend to do pretty well. And it's a great way to get allocations. Is we're in the business of salespeople. I said it earlier about solving problems. The developer has a problem, they need a building to go away. If I have a listing, I have a problem. I need the building to go away. So, working with realtors is a great way to get allocations.
Yeah, I'd say one thing to remember too, like when you're coming into this, and if you want allocation, try to remember the hustle you had when you got into this business, and use that hustle. Right? There's multiple ways you can get allocation. And it's not, I don't even like using the word allocation, because you're not going to get allocation until you've sold something. It's a chicken and an egg scenario. You're going to get the ability to sell. Allocation is, I have a list of like, say, 10 or 20 units that are mine to sell. So partner with people who have allocation and, bring buyers, bring solutions. Perhaps you can get into a project and you're going to get into the shared allocation. So that means there's a list of 15 units and there might be 30 realtors pulling into that list. If that's the yes you can get, take that yes, sell some units, be good to deal with. If there's a list of 30 people on that list and everyone is, coming at it with a big ego and
Uh-oh.
Someone's got to screenshot that picture of Dave. That's beautiful.
Yeah, so just for SJ, yes, we are recording this. Gord, do you have anything to add about
you're in there with
allocations?
hustle and being humble? You put a
You're back.
Am I back?
We missed a bunch of that, David. You froze for a bit. We all poked fun at you for a few minutes.
Good.
Sorry about that.
I've got three kids on homeschooling, all on web calls right now. Did you hear any of it?
Hustle. Going back to hustle. Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay. So there's multiple ways you can get allocation, and I was saying allocation is probably not the right word, because allocation means you have an amount of units that you get to sell. And at first, you just want to have access to sell. And the ways you get access to that is by partnering with people who have allocation. You may get into a shared allocation pool where there's like 15 units on a list and there's 30 realtors selling it. Like, don't get dismayed that you don't have your own allocation. Be the best person to work with and sell out of that list. Sell what you can. And then perhaps you'll get an allocation of 2 or 3 units. And that just might be someone saying, I'll put these 2 aside. It's not officially your allocation, but the guy who applies the allocation is just holding it there for you.
Right.
You just got to use hustle to get access to units and sell them.
Gord, do you have anything to add to that with the projects that you're working on? Are you guys dealing with allocations or anything like that?
Not at all, Andrew. The projects that I work on, I have exclusive marketing relationship with the builders, and we don't get into allocations at all. Every once in a while, I'll have an agent call me and say, when you have the next development coming on, I'd like to come to work with you. Well, typically, for instance, I have a development coming on in Jordan Station, and there are 28 detached bungalows and bungalows, 17 towns. Of the 17 towns, I already have 15 of them reserved now, and of the 28 detached units, I have 16 of those reserved. So really don't need much help in that regard.
Okay. So
which
my
worked out
next
well
question,
for me.
Yeah. So I think some of my questions are going to be answered here already, but I think Gord, you might be who I'm going after even more for these answers. As far as continuing to work with people and continue to get allocations, it's why someone will continue to work with you. It's easy to work with, great paperwork, we've built a relationship, and you sell. Is that fair to say? Anything to add to that?
Absolutely. And I mean, results, like everything else, it's the results that you produce that determines whether or not you're going to have a continued relationship with any builder or anyone. Having well-written docs and no ambiguity, and all of the docs are where they should be in the packet. And another big one is availability. There was a realtor who had a single unit that was from my builder. He had it listed, and the builder kind of sort of wanted to have a meeting every 2 weeks. And I heard this realtor say to the builder's representative, "I'm not going down there for another GD useless meeting." Well, that relationship ended that day. So availability to the builder, to the developer, is absolutely of paramount importance.
So I feel like we have 2 different models, let's say business models. We have the allocation model,
Yep.
where you guys are kind of putting together your own marketing plans, on behalf of the builder, and going after your sphere of influence and all that stuff. And then when you have the relationship with the builder, where you have the exclusive to sell everything that they're doing, is that's kind of, I've got Trevor and Gord kind of in that group, and David and James in the other. So and,
yeah, I was a little bit confused
David
about that.
Pardon?
So yeah, I was a little bit confused here about those 2 definitions. So, sorry, I interrupted you, Andrew. My apologies.
Well, are you confused with how I defined it, or were you how
no,
am I clarifying things now?
So to me, like I take the contract to market the entire development, right? We brand the development, we do the billboards, the booklets, all that kind of stuff. We're the listing agents on the development. And then we'll grant to certain VIP realtors exclusive access over, 10, 12, 15, 20 units of the development, and they can go shop those to their sphere. So I think that's what I think of when I hear allocations, but I don't know.
So that's what James and David, that's a big focus of your business. I'm not selling that short, David. I know you do help find development land and stuff like that a little bit as well. And then Gord and Trevor, I kind of want to dig into your businesses a little bit more, as far as your value proposition and what you do for the builders in order to maintain those relationships And maybe the is there different different compensation models that are implied in that as well?
Yeah, I don't know who's going first.
Trevor, why don't you shoot, and then I'll swing it over to Gord after.
Sure. So, you're asking about value to the developers. Is that was the first part of the question?
Yeah.
Value, and then commission structure, and then how all that stuff works.
Anything that you're willing to share. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. So, the value we provide to our developers, to be totally honest with you, the developers that I work with, this sounds, it does a lot about our industry, but they trust me. Is I think the number one reason they continue to deal with me, and you know, there's trusting someone's ability, and then there's trusting their their honor or their ethics. And I think I've demonstrated to all of them numerous times that I will do things that are contrary to my best interest in order to further theirs. So I'll raise prices without them asking me to. Most price raises we have come from me raising prices, not from the developer telling us to. I've had sites where I had, a several $100,000 commission, if they firmed up the deal, and I've told them I don't think that they should buy it, things like that. So I think that that's probably, to be honest with you, the number one reason they keep coming back to me, because they know that I'm going to tell them the truth every time. So it's just predictability, more than anything. Trusting my ability. I mean, they know that I'm going to produce. Whenever I price out a site for them, I'll always give them numbers that I absolutely, for sure, know I can achieve. And then they'll usually end up with, significantly more money than what I've told them the site's worth in their team. So, but in terms of our business model, we handle everything from A to B. I have an in-house graphic designer. We brand the site. Our sub trades will build the web page for them. We'll do all of the soft marketing. So we'll write all the copy. We'll design the folders. We'll, like I said, all of the branding and everything. And then our sub trades will actually print the folders, print the billboards. But we're a one-stop shop essentially, in that sense. And we always bring our jobs in under budget as well. So, but we handle everything from, like I said, conception all the way to key handovers and walkthroughs. So.
Wow. And yourself, Gord?
I don't get into doing the marketing stuff. I mean, I do my own marketing for a particular site when we're on it. But as far as doing the collateral material, the builders are doing that themselves. They want to have 100% control over that, and I'm cool with that. Trevor said trust, and he's absolutely spot on that. Like every other sales field, they got to get to know you, like you, trust you before they're going to do business with you. And how you retain them is making sure that their best interest is looked upon before your individual best interest. No question about it. Quite frankly, if you treat the builder correctly and put as much money in their pocket as you possibly can, yours is going to get full as well. No two ways about it. I think the understanding the development process and understanding home building and understanding design trends and understanding construction has been really my hallmark in new home sales, because quite frankly, I will put my knowledge up against anybody else in the area with respect to all of those things. I know the development process from A to Z. I know how the trades are used and the scheduling of the trades and so on and so forth. So it's and that's simply because I've been there.
Mm-hmm. Gord, how would you price your services? Is it a percentage of a deal, just like we would do traditionally? Is it more just like how does commission structure look like for you, Gord?
Very nice. The commission structure basically is this: on 2.5. If I'm selling the house to the end user client or an investor client, I'm getting 2.5% of the deal. If it's a and we typically will put, let's say we have we have depending upon the phase, we have 20 units on the go in a phase in the development. We will put probably 4 or 5 of those on MLS. The first instruction, we for a referral fee. If we're down to the short strokes where we have 1 or 2 units left in the development, yeah, they go on full MLS, and then it's a 2%. If someone comes along and they're just referring that buyer in, the developer is insistent that we pay them $2,500. It's that simple. And quite frankly, before I started working with this one developer, they were paying the $2,500 referral fee and then paying a commission. I pay the $2,500 referral fee. And some agents say, oh, $2,500, no, I'm not even going to bother. That's fine. I have other agents there's one guy in the area who has referred, I think, 5 buyers to me now over the last year and a half, got $2,500 for giving me a name. And you know, these buyers were not going to buy anywhere else. One of the both advantages and disadvantages that we have in this marketplace, because of the green belt, we have so very little developable land. In the village of Jordan, for instance, and I appreciate many of you don't know where that is, but in the village of Jordan, we have just completed the last developable chunk of dirt. When we do the development down in Jordan Station, again, that's the last developable piece of land in that community. And so we have a bit of a closed market that way. If they want to buy in one of our developments, they're buying it through me.
Okay. So you would be getting a percentage on the listing side, and you're the one paying out the $2,500 to the buyer in that one scenario. But you've solidified a listing amount for every home in that scenario.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Trevor, do you have anything you want to add? How are you pricing out by some project, and you've got a set thing, and you know what I mean, or is?
Yeah, I mean, so you got to keep in mind out here, for some reason, like, you know, the average, you know, dude walking around with a real estate license, if he lists a house for sale, he's going to list it for 7% on the first 100,000, and then 2.5% on the balance of the purchase price, and then he's going to basically split that with, you know, the dude from Remax that shows up with the buyer or whatever, right? So
yeah.
So what I will generally charge is anywhere between 1.8 and 2% on our side, depending on, you know, what services the developer wants, and you know, some stuff is mandatory. If you want to hire us, you know, you have to let us do this stuff. But things that are, well, I won't get into the nitty-gritty of it anyways. That's the basis of what our pricing is. And to me, like, my mentality is that if you want to send your buyer into my sales center and you never want to set foot in this sales center, I don't care. I'll make sure you get paid, and you'll get paid your cooperating commission. So, so we get our 1.8 or our 2%, whether or not there's another realtor, but we don't keep the cooperating commission on a double end. And that's the way it works with most of my competitors as well. I didn't set that standard; most of them did.
Okay.
Before I got in, so, which is fine, because we keep more on the list side than we would if it was like a standard, like 7 and 2.5. So works out fine for us. We're happy with that. But we don't pay any expenses at all. Like, we don't pay we do all of the soft copy, like all of the soft marketing in terms of printing and graphic design and that kind of, like, in terms of, copy and graphic design. But when it comes to actually print this stuff or install it, we don't pay for it. We bring them a budget at the beginning of the marketing process, and we manage our sub trades, but the invoices go to the builder.
Okay. And James and David, is allocations commission typically the cooperating brokerage portion, or is that an assumption?
Yeah. So when you're running the allocation game, it typically is that buyer co-op commission. And just to clarify, I started doing the allocations, and I've now moved into, I guess, the same situation as Gordon and Trevor, where we're actually doing the full listing for the developer at this point. But no stress at all. But that's typically how people get started in the business, is they are one of those VIP agents, as Trevor said. And that's how I started it. Like I said, I got the VIP allocation. I did really well, and it kind of snowballed. It gave me some clout to go around and start talking to people. But yeah, typically when you're talking about those allocation type setups, the buyer commission on the project is what you're getting.
Yeah, Andrew, you guys can hear me okay?
Go ahead, David. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, similar to James, I think all four of us are actually working from a listing side. We just came at it, looks like Gordon and Trevor came at it from the developer side forward, and James and I came at it from kind of like the sales side back, because it was, it's producing results on the sales side, which led to developer relationships, which they just effectively wanted to kind of bring us back and work from a listing standpoint. But when I have worked from a listing standpoint, it's more similar to Gord, where the developer is paying the marketing pieces, and they have kind of a set idea of how they want to market the project, and they're bringing me in, or the team in, to do manage the public facing sales aspect of it. And that might be sales center, sales events, working with realtors and applying allocation, kind of that whole aspect of it is what they want to step away from, because if you think of a developer, they spend all their time buying land, developing it, building it. The thing they spend the least amount of time on is sales. So it's usually the thing that they have the least amount of expertise on. That's why they need us. And I say us, the listing agents and buyer agents, co-op agents.
So I guess, Andrew, one of your questions was, how do you go ahead and add value to those developers? Yeah. And, I think for us, it's really been showing them, Dave touched something kind of important there. They spend the least amount of time doing sales, but if you look down their construction, their accounting, the sales cost is one of the larger buckets on that. You can imagine that, in the GTA, when people are sitting at, let's say, buyer commissions of 4% plus whatever they're paying the listing side, when you're selling $100 million project, that's a huge chunk of your overall pie. So there's a lot of developers that don't love salespeople. We always hear that realtors make too much, et cetera, et cetera. But typically where we've been able to add value is really showing them how they can sell more stuff kind of on their own or in-house, and how we can properly utilize the realtors. I think in so many different ways, there's so many people that they kind of get combative with realtors. They really fight with them kind of tooth and nail. There's better ways to work with real estate agents if you're developers, and there's ways that I guess everyone can win. One of the other things that I think that we've done on one of our last developments is, we took the black line drawings, proposed layouts of all of the units inside of a condo tower. We were able to reconfigure them and change the floor plan slightly. And they were able to make $3 million more profit just by changing the floor plans and selling more smaller units than some of the bigger units. So, just adding value like that will, doing what's in their best interest will definitely keep you coming back to them time and time again. Because like anything else, if anyone makes you money, you're going to want to keep them tight in your circle. If anyone's adding value, if you can trust the person that you're working with, you're going to keep them tight in your circle. It's no different than your regular resale customers. If they come back and they use you again, it's because they like the job they did. They trusted you, and you added value. The formula is pretty similar. The game is different, but the formula is the same.
So
I completely agree with James.
Yeah. How would you say that what are the biggest differences in the games? Like, what are the advantages of working in new constructions, and what are the big challenges of working in new construction?
Okay, so if I look back to one of my
James?
Sorry. When I look back to one of my favorite days in new construction, I sold 50 homes. I sold 50 homes in a day. So that's a huge positive, because where else can you sell 50 homes in a day?
Yeah.
The downside is you sold 50 homes in a day. Deal with that. We've got 50 people that have 10 days to back out of a
10-day
contract.
rescission period. Oh.
10-day rescission period. And so the up and down, the emotions that go through people like that, you're managing all those people because they had the 10-day qualification or the 10-day rescission period. They didn't have their financing straight. So you're managing 50 people through their financing process, through the paperwork, talking them through their ups and downs, roller coaster emotion, all the paperwork, like all the paperwork is still there. All the regular compliance things, the IDs, all the FinTrack forms, all that stuff still stands. So it's a lot. And if you have to go through all of that at the exact same time while getting ready for your next sales event, so you can just heap another 50 buyers on top of it, you're kind of on this rat wheel, but the rat wheel is powered and you're trying to keep up. It's motored and you're just running, trying to keep up. It's, you know, it's a bit of a shock to the system the first time you go through it. Like Dave said, you're doing all this stuff, but compressing it in this tiny little timeline. It really comes down to having great systems, great processes, and being entrepreneurial in this space is not the way to go. You have to be so buttoned down and so process driven.
So Kelly Mateus actually asked in the chat here, what difference can a talent in the ops role make in your ability to scale quickly? And I think you've given us a little insight into that, but maybe you could dig in a little bit deeper.
Yeah, well, actually funny because Kelly is bailed me out of a jam on more than one occasion, being a highly talented person who was kind enough to help me out through some stuff. They can make all the difference in the world. I mean, it's no different than any other business. Once you have that person that you can allocate things to, or you tell them what needs to be done, and you can go on to tackling the next task, whether that's finding the next developer or working on anything revenue producing, anytime that you have anyone talented that can take the operation side and run with it, your world's going to change.
Can you maybe each really quickly go through what your team looks like? Who's on your org structure?
Yeah, so my team is just ramping up. Last year I was an individual agent. This year I've kind of crossed over into the team side. So I have 2 buyers agents / showing assistants right now. I have 2 virtual assistants overseas, and I have 1 operations manager here, and 1 person that I refer to as a client concierge. And each of those people are the ops manager just kind of helps me organize my overall world, and my client concierge is specific to my resale business. But again, they're taking everything off of my plate that's not revenue producing. My maps coach always tells me to play a game, you know, what can you give away? And so it's literally what thing am I doing that doesn't make money that I can show someone else how to do and just get it off my plate. And it's everything from expense reports, mileage reports, bookkeeping, whatever, anything that doesn't involve you picking up the phone and finding your next piece of business, get rid of it.
Gord, do you want to go next? What's your org structure look like for your team?
Sure. Very, very simple. Whenever we go into a new development, I have 1 person that I have trained, and she works with me on that particular development. We have a commission structure that works for both she and I, and that's the sum total of the team.
Okay, David.
That's it.
Yeah, so I've got, say, 2 phases of my team. So like my ongoing team is 2 active sales, 1 admin, but when it comes to project time, then I expand my team out through partnerships, right? So just like, you know, when I looked at trying to find a project or a product that I could sell, you know, multiple units in one location, right? Trying to find leverage through the product. I mean, it's one thing to really, it's something we do great at Keller Williams. It doesn't really happen much elsewhere. But I mean, when you have a project come on, there's no reason that you can't expand your team through partnerships, agents within the office, bringing people in to work on leads, and they get a split of units that sell. They get a piece of allocation that, you know, if they sell to their own database, goes at a different split. Working sales events, there's been times where I've pretty much brought every single admin from our brokerage in to work our sales events. Like there was a time where I probably like 10 or 12, no, I'm going to say 8 admin and close to 20 sales agents at an event. So don't think of your team as just what you are. It's what you're able to connect with. And that kind of ties into, you know, Gord, James, Trevor, myself, we've all talked about the way you represent yourself as a developer and your professionalism will determine your success. But a lot of my success and the success of people around me is because of how they bring themselves every single day, right? People who are, coming from contribution, looking for win-win deals, seeing how they can help each other in the office. I mean, that allows you to then make a connection on a future development, or maybe, you're an agent that doesn't have experience, but you happen to be dating, right? And you could go Trevor's route, or perhaps that person has a piece of land already and wants to turn it into revenue. And for some reason, they want to chat to you about it, even though you don't have the experience, right? That's where you can work to partnerships, and your team can be small, but expand into do great things. So really pay attention to what you have available to you and who you're connecting with in your office, because the conversation and the thing that you do today could lead to an incredible revenue piece for your business 18 months from now. And that's an important, I think it's probably one of the things that's helped me a lot is, making sure that, I'm bringing myself with integrity every day, not just when someone's watching.
Trevor, what about
Dave,
you?
you've also had it. Sorry, Dave, you've also had it where people in your office have come across deals with developers and had nothing to do and brought them to you, correct?
Yeah. I mean, they just literally had no idea what to do with it, but they knew that I did. So then we sat down together and made a win-win deal on the, internally, and then we go down and sit and meet with the developer together, right? I mean, when you're sitting at the table with the developer, they want to know your track record. And if you don't have one, they want to know that you're part of a team that has one. Because like Gord said, he knows the development game inside and out because he's done the development game. I've learned it because I can't effectively help someone, a developer, without understanding their process, right? And that's from coming from contribution. Like just, sometimes you're giving information and help. You don't have a signed contract, and it may not turn into a signed contract, but it's that's how you learn, and that's how they trust to give you a little more information, and that goes a long way. But yeah, it's partnerships have been a big part of my business.
Trevor, what does your org structure look like? Your org chart?
It's a little bit like Henry Ford's factory. I really liked a couple of things that James talked about hiring talent and, what can you give away? So Danielle, who's kind of she's the brains of the operation. Like if you ask me how we close out these buildings, like how we coordinate move-in dates and walkthroughs and key handovers and all of this stuff, I would have no idea. I have no idea. I don't know. I have no idea. And I'm willfully ignorant of it. I make a point of not knowing and not being involved. And the developers don't even call me anymore. Like they call Danielle, because I'm just going to get up from my desk and go talk to Danielle anyways. Right. So that's the kind of, to touch on what James was talking about, especially if, maybe you got the IQ of a potato, you're not maybe the smartest guy, a lot of business experience under your belt. Hiring talented people is the smartest way to go for sure. My organizational chart, we have our marketing division, so we have two marketing coordinators. On the administrative side, we have Danielle, that's the brains of the operation. Stephanie, she's the transaction coordinator. She's like the high C detail person. She's the one that's tracking all of these deals and color schemes and everything else. Dawn, who handles all of our walkthroughs and key handovers, and Lee Rebecca, who is a customer service person. So after that deal goes firm, my salespeople walk away from the deal. They don't touch it again. And she handles all the little questions between firm and closing. 6 salespeople, they all work in tandem. They all work in pairs on each of our sites.
All right, perfect. So we got 2 to 7 minutes, depending on whether Ian shuts us down or not. So the last question I hear is, if you were to give advice, let's say someone was wanting to do what you do and leverage your knowledge and experience in another marketplace and was looking to get into new construction, what would be the main, piece of advice that you would tell them to focus on and do in order to try to break into the new construction market? Why don't we start with Gord, James, David, and then Trevor, because that's the order on my screen.
Makes it easy that way. I think it's very much area dependent. For me, if someone wants to get into the new home business in a smaller community, and that's where they really need to understand the local development process. Because if you go to a builder or developer and you don't understand that, you're going to have a very short audience. Understand the home building process. Know building materials and the advantages of certain materials over other materials. Understand design trends. Understand the builder's quirks, you're only going to understand the builder's quirks after you've worked with them for a period of time. There's certain builders want to do things this way, and other builders want to do it that way. And I think in a smaller community, getting to know the chief planning official for that municipality is absolutely critical. Get to know them, get to know what they're looking for in developments, and to be able to relate that back to the developer such that, I've already had a conversation with Joe Blow, and this is how they would like to see that development come in.
Okay, very good.
Something happened.
Excellent. Yeah, I think we're good again. James, you want to go next?
Yeah, for me, and this is, I guess, coming from past experiences or learnings, I call them pain points. Any developer I work with now, I want to know that the project is approved. I've had instances where I've sold 100 units and I see some nods and smiles, and then the project just didn't get built. And in that case, actually, I'd been given an advance on my commissions too. So, you make the sales, the deals are firm. Mentally, you cash that check. You know where everything is going, and to have to pay back multiple six figures and have that go away really, really hurts. So, wherever you are, just make sure that when you're working with a developer, when you step in, that the project is going to be built. And I think the other big learning for me going through this process was, we consider ourselves entrepreneurs because we're real estate agents or business people, and really, I don't think we are. If you look at it, all our contracts are typically done for us. There's standards, there's case laws, lawyers close it, everything. There's very little wiggle room. I have worked with developers in the past, unfortunately, that aren't super nice. And sometimes you do a bunch of work and then they do their best to renegotiate with you after, or they do their best, not to pay you afterwards. They go bankrupt. So some of those things aren't the most fun. So just really understand who you're getting into business with, I guess, would be if I were to boil it all down. Know what you're going to sell and know that it can be sold, and then know who you're getting into business with.
David?
Well, if it's someone new going into a new city, I know that as realtors, we like to be lone wolves. You get a listing on a single house, you're not going to go and partner with somebody on that, not normally. In this space, you could be selling 50, right? So it can be a long road by yourself. So I would say, partner with the people that have experience, and make it like you have an opportunity partnering with people to do something together that you can't do on your own, right? As a team for that project, as a joint venture. Like, it doesn't have to be the real estate team that's doing it. It can be a joint venture for a period of time. And I think that if you focus on those relationships, you'll be able to succeed faster. You'll get access to allocation. You'll get access to units to sell. You'll make relationships faster in the market that you're looking for. If you hold yourself with, if you're good to work with, more business comes to you through those connections, right? It's through the networking. You network with your clients to get referrals. You network with peers to expand your business and your skill set.
Trevor, bring us home.
I think it would be the same way that you would do business with anybody else. Despite my joke about, dating the right guy's niece, I did about 2 projects with that guy. Every single other developer that I work with today came from cold calls. And
Okay.
you know, if these people are, if they're self-made, if they appreciate hustle, if they appreciate, you know, hard work, they know how hard it is to pick up that phone. They're not going to be rude to you. I was so intimidated when I called Randy Redikoff because it's this huge name, right? The Redikoff family is this huge family out here, building family, and he's the nicest man. So just get on that horn and show value. How do you show value? Ask them what you can do to show value. Okay, it's not, you know, you don't got to be sly about it. You're applying for a job. Just get on that horn and call. And you'll be surprised how willing these people are to give you a shot until you give them a reason not to trust you. But just get on that horn. A new person, you know, probably the easiest thing to do to get your foot in the door would be to find them the land, not land that's on MLS. Go out and find the developable land and bring it to them.
Thank you very much, everybody. I learned a ton. Really appreciate it.